All right, hello everybody and welcome to the Mount Mansfield Unified Union School Board meeting for Monday, May 13th. We always start the meeting with an agenda review, roll call. Today I need to start the meeting with a moment of silence. We had a really sad event happen, and one of the folks who works in our central office passed away this morning. And it's been a real challenge for folks in the district. And so I just want to send condolences out to Sam Hill's family and just take a moment of silence with the board. Folks are okay with that? Thank you. Okay, so reviewing the agenda, we start with community comments. We have a report from the Mount Mansfield principal. We have a policy that we are warning this week that we can approve at our next meeting, updated proficiency-based graduation requirements. Then we have a monitoring report on the 2.2 policy. Superintendent's report. We'll do a quick discussion about the VSBA resolutions so that we can be prepared to act on those at a later meeting. Same thing with the superintendent evaluation. We'll have a quick discussion so that at our next meeting, we can have an executive session to talk about that. Get an update from our committees, see where everyone is doing, how all those committees are working out. And then we will approve our minutes. And if there's any other business, we'll pop that in at the end. Anybody have any modifications, changes, adjustments? So we do have a board member here who has been, who is being sent, I've lost my words, I'm sorry.
80?
A new board member to fill the open seat in Underhill, but we weren't able to get that on the agenda in advance, so we'll do that at our next meeting. So, but that's exciting that we will have a full 15-member board starting at our next meeting, yay. Community comments, are there any community comments? I don't hear your roll call. Oh, yes, Lisa's gonna do a roll call, thank you.
So this will not be in alphabetical order, but Ethan Maurer.
Here.
Thomas Erskine.
Here.
Sandra Ramos. Steve Tiglio.
Here.
Gail Conley.
Present.
Gail's here. Can you hear us, folks who are remote? Yes, great,
Yep.
thank you.
Edie Brady.
I'm here.
Susan Lillich. Here. Stuart Bordeaux.
Here.
Tara Aronson.
Online.
Tara's here.
Katie Nelson. Here. Allison Cronin. Here. Heather Chadwick. Here. I'm here. Kevin Campbell.
Kevin's here.
Gabrielle O'Malley. Here. Gracie Batsey.
Here.
I don't think they can hear them, but I think
Oh,
Tara's muted, I think.
so Kevin, if you unmute, can you say something?
1, 2, 3.
We can't hear you, you are exactly right.
Gracie, but I can't hear anyone else.
And Gracie,
That's
did you
why
say
we were
that?
talking to each other?
I
here.
Is the volume turned on really well?
Oh, so it's coming through.
There.
I can hear Kevin.
Ah,
Can you hear us now?
yes,
Very well.
all right,
All right.
we're
We're all here.
great.
No separate online board meeting.
Okay, thank you. Excellent, thank you.
We'll watch what we say now. Yep.
That's a good call every time. I also want to introduce a guest to the meeting. Mary Catherine Stone, representative from Burlington, Chittenden, which district? 14, I was going to guess wrong, is here tonight. She serves on the education committee, and she is going around the state to visit to visit different school districts in different parts of the state to understand more deeply what's going on in our districts, what we need, what the state needs to do differently to support schools better, and what's working, what's not working, and all of that. So as folks have ideas and want to share them, I'm sure she would be happy to have conversation. So thanks for being here. Okay, still no community comments? My question.
Can you get the PowerPoint up with you? I'm going to be talking about proficiency-based graduation requirements. The first thing is, who sets graduation requirements from high school? If you click the next one, Brad.
Let's get this.
Slide 2, first one. Graduation requirements are set by the state of Vermont, the Ed Quality Standards, and they set the minimum graduation requirements. The school board sets the final requirements for every district, but they have to be at least match the minimum requirements that's set in the state Ed Quality Standards. You can click it again, Brad. The current graduation requirements went into effect for the class of 2020. So yes, the class that graduated 3 months after COVID hit, it was the first class to have to deal with new graduation requirements. They were adjusted by the state, you can click again, Brett. They were adjusted by the state in an attempt to better prepare high school graduates for post-secondary career college options. Again, Brett, and it's from these requirements that the PBGRs came in, the proficiency-based graduation requirements. You're going to hear me use PBGRs a lot. I'm going to go into detail a little bit more about it, but essentially, when we went to high school, we earned credits. So when I started as an administrator, to graduate from Mount Mansfield High School, you needed 20 credits. 16 as required by the state of Vermont, so 4 English, 3 math, 3 science, 3 social studies, art, phys ed, and then 4 elective credits. And you earn credits. Vermont, MMU has always been a semester school, so you earn credits by passing a course over a semester. You're going to have a credit. Passing is 60%. There was no real discussion about what a biology class was, about what an Algebra 1 class was, about what a 10th grade English was. It was just, you needed 4 English credits, you needed 3 math credits. So the thinking from the state, they were the Ed Quality Standards of the Vermont School Board, they were right. We didn't really know what was coming out, and everyone was doing it different. So what they did, if you go to the next page, Brett, is 2120.7, a student meets the requirements for graduation when the student demonstrates evidence of proficiency in the curriculum outline. Now, I wish they would have just put it all together, but that would have been too clean. We'll get to the other part. They also said that every secondary school board is responsible for setting graduation requirements in accordance with these rules, which is why you're involved in the policy, etc. So if you hit the next, we get to required curriculum, tap it again. So you've seen 2020.5. Now we're going to go through the different categories, one click at a time. The first one was literacy, to include critical thinking, language, reading, speaking. You can all read it. So the first one's literacy. The second one is mathematical content practices, and I do want to point out something about this. Including numbers and operation and the concepts of algebra geometry by the end of grade 10. In theory, according to the state of Vermont, a student could be done math after their sophomore year. I haven't met one yet who's met their proficiencies after 10th grade, and they said, no, I don't want to take it. But they could. This is the standard as set by the state. Next, we're going to get into science. And as you can tell, it's kind of hitting upon the courses you got to take. You get your life science, physical, earth, space, engineering, design. Global citizenship is where social studies would fall under. Physical education and health physical education and health education as defined. So this is the one course that is still a seat, a seat time course. Because there is parts of the Vermont law that says schools need to teach how to do CPR. Schools need to teach about nutrition. So there's certain things we need to teach and students need to be able to do. So if you went to Title 16 and you went to 131, you can see the list of topics that are covered in this course. Next, you have artistic expression, including visual, media, and performing arts. And last, transferable skills. So, in my opinion, these might be the most important. I think they really tie into some of the reading and writing, which is a lifelong skill. But you got to be able to communicate. You got to be able to collaborate. You got to be creative. And, you got to be able to problem solve. Use tech. So that's where that was their big cover. So these are the required curriculums. If we go to the next page. So broken down here. So what happened? I'm going to skip ahead. Just forget the first one about this one. So we had that page where we had literacy, scientific, inquiry, math. That blurb from the state I gave to our teachers. We said to them, what do we want a graduate, someone who walked across the stage, to know? So if we go backwards now, Brett, they came up with these. So to meet literacy, you need to be proficient in 5 PBGRs. Math is 6, science is 6, global citizenship is 6, and so on. Can you click on the link to our PBGRs, Brett? The Google Doc. Sorry to ask you to do so much.
No, you're fine.
Heather has a question.
Yeah,
So is one class one PBGR or is it half PBGR?
we'll get there.
Okay.
No, it's okay. Is it not working?
Yeah, it's not letting me click on it. I apologize.
Me neither, for each of you.
Oh, it worked for me.
What's your,
Oh, actually.
what's your shared document?
Mine worked too.
Did you get huge roll?
Oh.
That worked for me.
There it is. I'm going to share a doc with you, Brett.
Yep.
Did you get it?
Slide 6 has a clickable link that does work takes you to the PBGRs.
So does. You can try that. I think for some reason it's not working, but I was able to get there from the other slide.
So you sent me a doc.
I just sent you a doc, yep. Sorry about the tech.
This is critical thinking problem solving.
Abby, jump in wherever you want, because you're going to do your stuff. I just want you to feel free to jump in.
I feel so insulted.
Gracie, you're there too. You better jump in. You're a senior. You've probably met all 33 of them by now.
I finished my last one today.
Yay! Congratulations.
There we go. So here is our literacy PBGR. So we broke it down into those 5, and you see the areas: writing, research, reading, language, critical discourse, and how we define them. Each of these, furthermore, has a rubric that is used to assess it within the class. Real quick, if you can just go through the doc, Brad, you'll see that we've had the same thing for everybody. When you get to math, I want to show you something real quick. The math folks can count, but what you'll notice is it goes 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. When it was originally created, there was 7 math PBGRs. One of them was functions, and they made the decision that there's not much difference. I mean, function is an algebra skill. So instead of having a standalone PBGR for functions, they said, let's take that out and encompass it in algebra skills. So you will notice that in some of our PBGRs, the numbering's not quite right. It goes back to when they were created. Next, we have science. When I was on the tour, we talked about, in the process of thinking about breaking away engineering practices. So if you look at S6, which is scientific and engineering practices, demonstrate knowledge and application of scientific and engineering practices through the integration of science, tech, indoor engineering concepts. So we're thinking about creating these standalone classes to hit the engineering side of it. It's been a bit of an add-on in some of our science classes to do this PBGR justice. So that's why that's in play. PBGR will still be there. Our students will still be meeting it, but instead of doing it in the science class, they'll do it in some standalone, in the older days, we might have called tech classes. Next, you have global citizenship, which is social studies. You know, one of the things that we're getting closer to is you've seen at least 2 PBGRs in inquiry, and you've seen the word inquiry, I think, in the English PBGR. We are getting closer to that being a transferable skill or one that runs throughout the building. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but you know, you see these run through. I did want to get to, just to show you the physical and health ed, which is the next page. The top 2 are the core concepts and decision-making is sort of the health concepts. The next 2, fitness concepts and knowledge and skills, is the physical education component. So essentially, our students take a class in 9th grade called health and fitness. In that class, they're going to meet the 2 health proficiencies, and they're going to meet the fitness proficiency. The knowledge and skill proficiency, they're going to meet one of probably 3 ways. The first is by taking 2 phys ed courses with us. You know, be that yoga, rec sports, healthy living, outdoor adventure. Those are the 4 courses we're running next year. By playing 2 seasons of 2 sports is another way. And the third way is outside of our school. We have a lot of students who are involved in physical activities outside of our school. Maybe that's taekwondo, horseback riding, ballet, and we have a way for them to go about doing that. But that's the way those are met. And the last one before we get to transferable skills is art. And you see that is broken into 2 big categories: artistic literacy and reflection and critique. Essentially, to get through this is going to take a year. If you're taking a fine art, you're going to take a first course which we call Intro to Visual Art, which essentially eliminated all those unit 1s. So if you were taking pottery or painting or drawing, you always started with the same basic concepts. I mean, there was some specifics about paint, but there was the general idea that that first unit was the same. So what we do in our IBA is we teach those basic concepts, and we also expose the students to all the different mediums that we work in. So when they take their second course and maybe their third, they have an idea what they're going to do. In that second course is where they get into reflection and critique. And the last is our transferable skills. Once again, you see 1, 2, 4, and 5. These are, you know, we had 5 to start, now we have 4. The one that has been pushed to the side was integrative thinking, and it was just a hard standalone PBGR, so we've kind of tied it into some other classes. If we could jump back to the PowerPoint and go to the next slide.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So when you're talking about transferable skills versus the class-based PBGRs, do you have specific classes where they can earn the transferable skill?
Depends on the
proficiency,
skill.
or the multiple
Yeah,
opportunities?
it's always multiple. But we will get to that as we go through once the slide shows back up.
Great, thanks.
Go to the next one down. We got 2 little short factoids that are going to come up here. First class graduate was 2020. And one of the things that our curriculum groups are continually doing is evaluating and adjusting PBGRs, the rubrics, the assignments we're using to assess that. The next I want to take a look at, and I hope it opens for you, Brett, is the MMU program studies.
Doesn't look like it, like.
Okay, coming to you.
This is part of the handbook every year, or it's a
Yes,
handbook?
well, it's not part of the handbook, it's actually a different, I should have sent you just the link, and I'm gonna send you the other things that are linked in here while you're opening that.
It's on the website, right? So anybody can
Yes,
access
it is on the website.
Is it the one, Mike, or?
No.
Yes, no, that's a report card, which we will.
That's one of the other links, okay.
I was sending you some of the.
It's the one that looks like this.
It was a straight web address. It was an email I sent.
Oh, it was an email? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was looking at the drive. I
No, it
apologize.
was a straight email with a link. Sorry, I should have said that.
My apologies.
So go down, just start scrolling down. You're gonna wanna get down to like page 7, 8, anywhere once you get into the classes. So just scroll away. Let Doc not scroll for you?
Giving him a lot of problems.
Yeah. Can you present it, Mike, you think?
Could, can I take it off does that go off will that still be on the?
I think you just hit present.
Did you join the meeting?
I haven't joined the meeting.
Oh, okay, so that'd be probably have to be.
So I'm just gonna walk around and show you.
I joined the meeting. See if I can present.
The program of studies, if you can see it, lists every course we have. And at the bottom of the course, what you'll see is you'll see like English 10, and below it would be the PBGRs that are assessed within it. One of the things you would notice is that every PBGR is in at least 2 courses. And Brett, if you go to the,
Where would you like to go?
keep going, keep going. So it's not where you want now. So American Literary Experience, which is our 11th grade English class, you see that in that course, the PBGRs that are assessed is writing and research. So throughout the course of a 1-year-long course, they're going to be working on writing and research. I'm going to show you a report card here in a little bit that there's different ways in the report card they're reported. What we call like pre-PBGR or untranscripted would be maybe you just have 1 or 2 assignments in. But when you've had 4, 5, 6 assignments, you'll see an asterisk next to it, and it would say that's going to end up on your PBGR transcript, which you will see in a little bit. But as you go through all our courses, you see PBGRs throughout the bunch of them. Now, like some don't have it, but most do. And that runs through all our courses. And the way this works is for Abby, I would say 80% of our students kind of follow a couple of typical roads through to meet our 33 PBG hours. There are many ways to meet them, and we're going to talk about that when we get to flexible pathways. But the typical student, remembering, 70+% of our students who go to post-secondary education are going to hit those PBGRs on the way. We'll talk about tech centers after we get through this as well. But so this is the roadmap for taking courses here. Question? Or do you want to see it on a transcript and report card? I don't. Whoever.
Oh, do you want me to share something else?
Would you go back to the report card, you said?
Yeah, go back to one of the report cards, which is, if you're.
Brett has that.
Okay. I shared 2 report cards and 2 transcripts with you.
Practice is over and over again using my little slideshow and opening things.
So here's a report card, and what you're looking at, the top half of the report card is a PBGRs. So this is a 9th grader. So one of the things you're going to notice is every student has work habits as a grade. One of the things that we believe is you cannot get to graduation day successfully without having demonstrated work habits. There's the same assessment, the same rubric that's used. Our teachers are teaching about work habits, so you'll see that in every one. The other thing you'll notice is the little asterisk next to geometry, and which is social studies. Now, if you go over here to, this is a 9th grader, so the opening, this is a first quarter PBGR report card. If you can go up a little bit. Don't worry about it, Brett. Click on the other report card, the junior, the senior report card I have in there. So this is the junior. We'll go to that 11th grade course we're just talking about. They do reading and critical discourse in 12th grade to finally get to the transcript, but for now, they're still being assessed. So this student would be M, reading, critical discourse, which is discussing and taking your knowledge in and building off other things that people are saying. The student has a W, still working on it. Writing, which is something that gets assessed in this class, you see during quarter 1 with a W, they continued to write and they did some more assignments. Quarter 2 was an M, and for the semester end, if you notice the difference, the asterisk, the non-asterisk, the asterisk is going to end up on the transcript. So that represents many more assignments. You see the same thing down here, AP Music Theory the student took. Now, you see reflection, critique, artistic literacy, work habits. This student already had met their proficiencies already in art, so the teacher chose not to have them go on twice, so that's why you don't see an asterisk there. Social studies, we got history. The other thing you'll notice throughout all this is you continue to see work habits being assessed. Can you open up one of the transcripts? I don't care which, I'd like the proficiency transcript, but do whatever you want. You're going to see 2 transcripts, same student. One is a proficiency transcript, one is a traditional. One we're probably all a little bit more comfortable with transcript. When a student applies to college, both go. Page 1, proficiencies. Page 2, traditional. Why do we do this? We do it because our students, MMU, the #1 school in Vermont, yeah. But a lot of colleges don't know MMU. They don't know what we do. And our school profile talks about it by having a traditional grade point does keep some doors open for our students besides just W's, M's, and E's. So this is a proficiency transcript. So if we go to the top, the student was a freshman, and they passed all their proficiencies that they should have. So you see M's in geography, their global sciences, their 2 health fitness, they got the integrated earth. Math 1, there was a proficiency in number and quantity that they struggled with. So they earned a W. You see that again down here in 10th grade. So this is what it looks like. Now, if you go to their last year here, you see multiple pathways. So this person picked up their decision-making and knowledge and skills health PBGRs in a college course. So you see that that you can show the same student or the same students traditional. And this is the traditional GPA-based transcript. You see the course, you see the grade, you see the amount of credits. When you look at English 11, which she took 11 AP, but the proficiencies are the same, I guess you would know that's an AP course. But if you look at contemporary U.S. history, you don't really know what we're teaching. But when you have PBGRs, we know, and we are telling the students, and we're telling the public, this is what the big takeaway from that course is. So, you know, in Grace and Abby, the students know when it's a PBGR assignment. I mean, please tell me that we've gotten better at that, right?
Yes, always no.
You know, and that's something that we talk a lot about. So that's just an example of sort of our record keeping. It was a much bigger deal back in 2016, 17 when this came on. If people on the board remember, there were people who were upset. We sort of tiptoed around upset people because we kept our 2 systems going. And it has worked very well for us. I would say one thing that's really helped us is it's allowed teachers to dig back into what they're teaching, why they're teaching it, how does it help kids, how does it lead to effective engaged citizens. Those conversations now are ongoing. If you could return to the thing, I do want to briefly hit upon some flexible pathway stuff. Not pathway. Instead of an FEMMPs. I don't like that letter. Yeah, no one's failed. You should not ask.
I have a quick question. I don't know if this is the appropriate
No, so the questions are.
moment in the presentation, but, so what I'm thinking about is what our middle school grading is like, and that's proficiency-based, right? They're not getting letters, they're not getting numbers, they're getting meets the standard, like it exceeds the standard or is approaching the standard. For Hamilton Middle School at least, and I'm not sure about Browns River. But as a parent and as a school board member, I think about what the transition is like for kids when they begin getting those letter grades and start understanding, you know, like, I don't know. Well, can you tell me more about what that experience is like for them? Tell me.
I wasn't going 8th grade and 9th grade grades.
For me, it wasn't too much. I mean, obviously it is like a difference. For me, it wasn't super effective, not effective, like too earth-shattering, I guess. Because since we're still on like the working towards meet, exceed scale, like, it kind of is helpful. You can still see like where you are. And then also like the A, B, C kind of letters, that can be like, I feel a little scary to like go into, but it's kind of easy to see, like, it's pretty well understood, like, what is a passing grade, and it's well talked about in the school auditorium. Like, you know where you should be, and your teacher will communicate with you if you're not where you should be. So like definitely the support in the building stuff is very helpful and doesn't make the gap feel too big.
Tracy, do you want to add anything or not? No.
I mean, my freshman year was so weird, so I don't know if I'm the person to really ask about this, but I do know from like the last 4 years is that a thing that I found really convenient is that in Power School, if it is a PVGR assignment, you can see where you're at. So it's kind of, you're more involved in the process, which was really nice.
So what Power School is it's our grade book. And we actually have Schoology, which has a grade book component, and we have Power School, which has a grade book component. And when it's a PVGR assignment, it's flagged a certain way, so folks can see it. It certainly is something we work with the students on their way up. One of the advantages, to be honest, that I've experienced over the years is more parents understand what a B is, what a C is, and what an A is, then meets the standard, nearly meets the standard. So it's helped those conversations. I mean, if anyone who's a parent here, you get a lot of emails from me saying, have a conversation with your students. I write that about twice a quarter about their grades. You know, I don't want, parents shouldn't be hovering over the grade book, but twice a quarter sitting down with your students and going through the grade book is not a bad idea. It's a great conversation to have, what they're learning, what they're doing, what's exciting, what's not exciting. And parents do feel a bit more comfortable with the letters. And for me, that conversation is important. But it's something that we do work to make sure that we try to deal with that knowledge for students coming in.
I have a question. So because you can get several different PVDRs in a specific class, it looks like, how, like, are the students more, like, are you like constantly aware of like how many PVDRs you have completed? Like, I feel like it can be like really like
Guidance counselor.
guys, so it's like they know if you're like getting close to like, oh, you still need 5 or 6 PVDRs, or you know, you're good. I feel like it's kind of overwhelming to try to keep figuring out how many you have and don't have.
Because every year, students meet with their counselors at least twice, but every January, February, they need to pick next year's classes. And one of the things that requires you, right, is going to be looking back at your grades and what you've earned previously. So you do pick grades that you pick classes that you need. Speaking of that, you can just push down to the flexible pathway part. It's just 2 words, but one of the great things about Vermont is you don't have to earn your diploma just inside your diplomas. So we have students that go to the tech centers. And one of the things we did when this first started is we made the decision that if you are taking a biology course where someone is saying you have met the requirements of a biology course, whatever PPGRs are in our biology course, we're saying are in that. So we have to trust each other as area high schools or area tech centers. So when a student takes a tech class, it says they still use credit verbiage. And it says, you know, there's embedded math in this, or there's embedded physical science in this. So it still says that part, and we make that work. Now, if you're at CTE, you might need to take a social studies course at CTE, and they pop out of their track or class they're in to go take a course every other day. Other ways to do it, I mean, we have some students that work with Ethan through you guys at Vermont Adult Learning now. So they are incredible over there. I'm not just saying that he's there. We have students who are struggling. They haven't, for whatever reason, they haven't worked here. There's a million different reasons. Some of them love us, but just can't work here. They go there, and Ethan and his folks look at what they have on the transcript, look at what we need to graduate, and they put it together. We have an alternative program here that does a similar piece. And then we have students that meet it totally alternative. We have students meet some of these proficiencies through work. We have students who meet these proficiencies through working, you know, at jobs or taking college courses. When you start getting that world, the way we deal with it at MMU is we have you work with your counselor, and then it's usually a combination of an administrator, myself, or Ms. Conforto, where we're sitting trying to figure out how are we meeting this proficiency, what do we need to do. You know, maybe we can't meet You know, maybe we can't meet the research PBGR any other way except a course or writing something. So maybe we have more alternative program. Maybe we help them take a course at ECDLC. Some of our students really like. There's high school courses through BYU that are very old school correspondence type courses, and some of our students really enjoy that. It works well for them to have a pile of stuff and they work their way through. So there's many ways to get there. And the change between 2020 and 2019 for me is I can stay in the conversation longer with students with proficiency-based graduation. What that means is if I had a student who kind of shut down 9th grade, disappeared 10th grade, didn't pop back up till 11th grade in the old system, they were so far behind credit-wise that it was really hard to get them to 20. And a lot of them just stopped. Now we talk about what they're doing, we look at their PBGRs, we sometimes we pull up, in 9th grade, there's the science proficiency in systems. And the assignment is a year-long assignment, you create your own content. We will pull up out of their drive what they did, and we'll have them, finish making, or we're doing the assignment so they can meet that. It has opened that door, great, that's been a saver for many students. And the other piece is, I used to shake hands. I love shaking hands at graduation. It's my favorite activity. I'm always the last handshake. I'm off to the left from the audience, right? They see all the fancy people, and I have a little conversation with every one of them. There was some who I loved dearly. I shook their hand and I wished them well. I wasn't sure how much they learned from me. Now, for you to walk across that stage, I feel pretty darn good that you've got things. You pick the Dora the Explorer backpack, your pockets, whatever, that are going to allow you to be successful. So this system, I think, has been a bit of a game changer for Vermont education. I really do. I know some places it's been difficult, but at MMU it's worked. Questions, folks?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I remember in high school bouncing around the 70-degree number. In Texas, that's passing. And it was no pass, no play. So sports-wise, if the kid is like on the bubble of like understanding and not understanding, how does that student get to the passing mark to play?
So sports are still 2.0. So we still use our grade point average to play sports. So you need to have a 2.0, which is a 70, right? So if, you're getting both pieces back. To be an athlete here, you got to be enrolled in 5 classes. Your GPA at the end of the most recent quarter needs to be a 2.0 or better. Every quarter, we have some athletes who run into some struggles. Typically, they haven't done the work. Over 2 or 3 weeks into that next quarter, they put their nose to the grindstone. They get some stuff done, and they go from being a practice-only player back to being a player. So that's how we still do use some of the carrot and stick components of a traditional grade point with our students.
Go ahead, Ethan.
Would you say that, like you were sort of explaining, like the PBGRs add like a layer of depth? I mean, you didn't necessarily, like some schools in the state like went wholesale and changed everything from soup to nuts, but what I'm hearing is that PBGRs are really like adding more richness to the experience here. It's not as if you changed the program necessarily,
We didn't, there's 60 some odd high schools and they went 60 different directions. And some really went into these big 6, 8, 9 different proficiencies, and that's all they had. That didn't seem to fit who we were. But I do think this added a complexity, this added a depth to what we're doing. If you look at colleagueship, that is smattered, that is some collaboration. That is smattered through some of our courses, and you get grades in collaboration. And that's one we're just getting ready to roll out. That's been a tough one to do. Presentation is one that's not so tough to do. That's smattered throughout a whole bunch of courses in our building. But that was a decision that fit this place, and I really think that was a good decision. Not that the other folks are doing anything wrong,
Not a
it's
comparison
just
at
for
all.
us, where we were, what we were doing, it worked, and I think now students are getting a better education than they were before. I'm talking students and not students, it's all, get to the top, the one who gets by.
Anyone remote have a question? I'm not going to ignore you. Go ahead, Tara.
Thanks. I have so many, but I will only ask 1.5. With the huge focus on literacy in our district, why do we have less PBGRs for literacy than we do for the math and science?
I can chime in on this one. Yeah.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Gracie.
It's like from a student's perspective, at least, English is really the only core class that requires you to take 4 years of it to get those PBGRs. So it's more of a continued process. Like I took 4 years of math, but I got my PBGR for it sophomore year. I didn't finish that literacy PBGR, that section, until your senior year. So it kind of keeps you in that program for longer. I don't know, but I'm not an administrator.
You could. I think one of the big things is we have decided to use less defined skills in literacy and more higher concepts, with the exception of language, which is grammar. Reading, writing, research, and critical discourse are big picture. There's many facets to them. So that was the decision the English department made, and we just finished a NEAS visit last week. And one of the things that happened is we had all the NEAS people in here, and we had 32 students in here showing them some of their work. And one of the good things they said about it was, your kids are writing in a level higher than we see it, and they're all law educators, than we ever see in our school. So it's there, it's just done a little bit differently. And it's not standard-based. That's the difference between K through 8, where every standard, things are broken down a little bit more to a proficiency, which is a bigger picture.
And for our new board members, NEASC is?
New England Association of Schools and Colleges, every 10 years or so, they assess high schools, and they say, they assess you against current research, and they come and they do a visit, and we'll get their report back in July, August, but they left very happy. Do you have more? I don't know if it's Tara or if it's...
Another question, Tara?
Yeah, I have to tell you, I'm having a really difficult time hearing tonight too, because I heard Gracie both on the echo in the room and online. So I'm listening to myself lag right now. So I'm struggling with the listening. But aside from that, Katie brought this up earlier, right? Talking about the middle school to high school transition and standards set in middle school and now moving to high school. How do you work with families and students to help them understand so that families can support their students while they're making this transition and the enormous difference between middle school and high school?
That starts in our late January, early February meeting, where we are talking about curriculum, we're talking about PBGRs. It continues throughout the process of our meetings with our adults. The students are getting it every day in the classroom. It is very well explained. Our ninth graders come into a little bit different system. They're not quite teams, we call them co-ops. So there's a little bit smaller group, there's similar teachers who are talking and working with them. It is a structured transition, and we do whatever's needed. For most, our transition works. If more is needed for some, we have more meetings and we meet with more folks.
Good? Ish? Okay. We'll hop back into that. Right. Other questions?
I actually have the same question Tara had. So I'm good.
Did you feel like you got,
Yeah, objectively, this feels like a lot. I'm not in the classrooms or experiencing it, and I have someone going into kindergarten next year, so we have a long way to go before we get here. So I trust that it works if you say it works. It feels like there's a lot of systems and stuff, and as we were looking through the course selection thing, I have like a little anxiety tummy thinking about just brings you back, right, to high school and selecting everything. But
yeah, I'll say as a parent whose kid was in that 2020 graduating class, so the guinea pig for this, the school did a lot for the parents at least, to help us to understand what was happening and to get, Susan had a child in that class also, to keep us up to date so that it wasn't a surprise and it wasn't anything that was difficult to understand, right? It was and my kid also didn't feel like it was too complicated. Felt like, I know the grade thing, I got that down, the PBGRs, sure, like if I'm meeting it, it's fine. And our kids weren't, didn't really have learning issues, like struggles, but they, they didn't feel very stressed. And I know you did a little bit more robust after that year. So.
And that's why that vertical alignment in the curriculum is so important. And one of the, our key priorities is because that's how kids are prepared. And the communication that we have with the middle schools when we're looking to revise 7th and 8th grade curriculum and 5th grade and 6th grade, that time is, and that communication is vital. We, that's an ongoing process that we work at every week. We always want to do better, and that is one of the reasons why we put it on as one of the key priorities moving forward.
Go ahead, Tom.
I just had a quick question to clarify. So these the PBGR transcript and the traditional transcript, is that being done on all high schools throughout the month?
I don't know what high schools do. I know some high schools don't even report PBGRs. There are some high schools that say if you take 4 Englishes, you've met proficiency. You've taken 3 science.
Most of Chittenden County are that way.
So if we're going to do all this work as teachers to do this, if we're going to have our students do the work to meet it, we're going to report it. And if our report card, we put a priority on it. The first thing on the report card is the PBGRs. The second thing is the traditional grades. But to be honest, even though the college presidents and folks like that say that the first thing they look at is that they don't need traditional grades.
They need traditional grades.
I think that's one of the smartest things that we did, was to be able to have these parallel systems, so we're not putting kids at a disadvantage, and they have no control over that. So at the time when we were putting this together, that's what the district and the board at the time said that we needed to do.
Yeah, so you're saying that some schools in the state just do the proficiency, they don't have the
Yes.
letter
And some schools just do letter grades.
Yeah,
Like, how do those kids get in the?
that's really not for our meeting, right? But it is more complicated.
Wouldn't it be like, I feel like on some level the state dictate, like, you should also do this?
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Perhaps.
The state actually has been working to launch a lot of proficiency-based guidance, right? Like there's now hierarchies, and they're rolling out, because I think that they basically said, okay, schools, be proficiency-based now and figure it out, right? And so I think MMU did a great job in terms of finding that balance. And the state is, through the age of education, is still trying to help schools make that transition. And so, even school like, UVM is still accepting more out-of-state students than they are, so they need to have something to compare, and that's where I think it is. I just wanted to say something just to the, and I don't have a kid in high school, but I do spend a fair amount of time talking with high school students. I think the guidance counselor is a really, key person in helping like transition, but I think advisory is probably the place where a student has that adult that they know and they get to know better over the course of their experience here in a smaller thing. A guidance counselor must have what, 200, 150 people that they're responsible for, but an advisor
Has a dozen?
12. So there's a place where you both, probably as a student and as a parent, can have someone to.
Plus the other advantage of advisory is the students get the overviews, right? You walk into your advisory as a ninth grader, you're gonna be there for 4 years. So a lot of advisors will typically have a discussion about course selection, because we do that all at the same time. So, yes, sometimes it is about the disadvantage of having B lunch, but sometimes it is about
Okay, so to keep us on track and not get us too late tonight, I know Mike would be more than happy to answer any other questions that we have, and we can pull him back for another meeting on this if we need to. But our next agenda item is to talk about the updated proficiency-based graduation requirement policy. John?
Yeah, so when Mike can help, because we worked on this together with some other administrators and educators in the district. This is, if you look at our the graduation policy we have right now, it's very generic. This gets into more specificity around aligning with what the expectations are from the state of Vermont that are in the ed quality standards. It also includes making sure that there are flexible pathways, that we're making accommodations for students that are on IEPs and 504s, that the PBGRs reflect the learning standards that are have been adopted and will be adopted by the State Board of Education. So it has a much more measured approach and details around what we're asking students to be able to do, and then and what some of the responsibilities are of the administration. And it also includes things like personal learning plans, which are also a requirement by the state of Vermont. And it also includes some additional requirements that MMU adopted, which was the advisory program and the senior seminar. This is also based on the model and has some references to the ed quality standards and the rules that govern graduation, and a recommended time to report out. We've integrated Mike did some of this tonight, and we also have integrated some of the reporting into our ends monitoring reports.
So we'll talk about this more at our next meeting, but the way that it works is we have to warn policies at one meeting, and we can adopt them at the next meeting. If folks are comfortable, can we hold questions until the next meeting so that we can do our best to stay on schedule for tonight? Does that work? Everybody okay with that? I'm seeing mostly nods. Okay, great. Then let's move on, and Mike, you're welcome to head out if you want to. Thank you for being here, and congratulations on which one? What would you like me to congratulate you
My
for?
twins graduated college.
Your twins are graduating.
Esports, state championship. There's a lot of things to be good about. For Gracie graduating here in a month.
It's very
If you
exciting.
have any questions, after you go through and look at it, if you go looking for those report cards and transcripts, I just took them out of the report again because even though I blocked out addresses and faces, I think someone could identify if they did a little snooping. So I did take those out, but I'm more than happy to sit and talk with anyone about this. It's kind of fun.
What I was saying congratulations about is for MMU to be named the #1 high school in the state again, and I believe it's 3 out of the last 4 years? This is
4 out of 5.
4 out of the last 5 years.
That's all because of you folks.
So, congratulations.
Bye,
Thanks,
Abby. Bye,
thanks
Gracie.
for being here. 2.2 Policy Governance Monitoring Report. John?
Okay, so this is one of the executive limitations. So these are some guardrails that, things that we as an organization need to meet and do. And also, a little bit of things I can't do. So what I tried to do with this report is provide you with an interpretation and a summary of the section, and then provide you with some authentic and real evidence and information to prove that we're meeting this executive limitation. So in policy governance for new folks, we have executive limitations, which are essentially the things I can, should, and cannot do. And in this particular one, we're talking about, instead of shall not, shall. So in 2022, we spent a year working on revising some of these policies. And so this is one of the revised policies that focuses on staff. And the title is treatment of staff, but it's bigger than that. It's, setting up the systems and the organization and the resources so that we're meeting state and federal guidelines, that we are including, we have safe schools, that we have a wellness program, and that we are trying to celebrate people that are doing a good job. And what I did is provide evidence that we're doing that. This is an ongoing process, so this is iterative. You're never done, right? When you're thinking about having an effective, safe, and productive work environment, it is an ongoing work, and something that never stops. This is an area where we have gained a lot of ground over the last 8 years. And I give credit to Rebecca Thibault, who has spent hours making sure that we have the right trainings in place, that we have a coordinated wellness program, that we have the trainings that we need around Title IX and around harassment of staff to staff and sometimes staff to students. So what I thought I would do is go through the sections just briefly and talk about those and give you an overview. Rebecca helped me prepare this. Andrew also did some work on this around the curriculum piece and the professional development, which again is ongoing. We're always looking for ways to do it better, but we're doing well. We have some good supports for people. We're again always looking to do things better, but I think this is an executive limitation that we're staying within the guardrails and we're meeting the primary tenets of it. The first section, and I won't read this to you, is, but I would read this part, that the Mount Mansfield Unified Union School District prides itself on creating an environment that is inclusive and promotes a positive workplace. So that's sort of the overarching executive limitation and goal. And the first section is it provides clear policies and procedures. And I won't go A to F, but essentially that's making sure that we have an up-to-date, our handbooks are up-to-date. We're continually looking at our job descriptions and revising them as needed. That we have a robust mentoring program for teachers that follows the law but also meets the needs of our teachers. That we have the necessary trainings and optional opportunities for staff. That we're also integrating equity and inclusion information and trainings into our workplace, and that we're providing our staff and educators with good professional development. So what I did in that first section is just give you some information that I think gives you evidence that we're meeting that. And then we are information about our wellness program, which has become, you know, a lot more wide scale and rich, I would say. Wednesday, we have our Spring Fest at Jericho, and we're gonna have some wood-fired pizza and some games, and we did one in the winter, and it was really great to get everybody together and just, you know, do some healthy activities all together, and we got some really good feedback on it. Then go into safety preparation, because that's critical. People need to be safe in schools, and we, again, have done, I think, really improved in this area. Again, with the support of Rebecca and Blythe Leonard, who was our Assistant Special Services Director, but she's come back and done a lot of work with us around compliance. And she's created these hubs that our administrators and staff that need it have all the information, resources, and materials that they need, so that we're, you know, keeping our buildings safe and that we're following all the rules of and the laws of the state of Vermont, and that we're doing things right. So when we do have an issue, the people know what to do and that we do it correctly. Provide you too with our administrative procedural guide. There's a lot of information in there, but I do think it demonstrates some of the key principles that are in this executive limitation, and then some trainings that we do, more information about the handbook, and we haven't not had a grievance in 2 years. And I think it's longer than that, but I tried to focus on 2 years for this report. And that's for a couple of reasons. Really good communication with our union leadership. So we're proactive. We identify issues and then we work together to try to solve them. So we're on the same team, and that's been super, super effective. The next section is 2, which is essentially offering professional development that helps people grow, and that we have a supervision and evaluation system that is, you know, helps to do that. So for evidence, you know, I provided a lot of evidence. You know, our teacher supervision evaluation system, which we revised and updated about a year ago or a year and a half ago with the committee. And examples of some evaluations, work we've done for our early release, some capacity building, some courses that we have supported and offered that help our priorities and students be successful. I won't go through all of this, but and I apologize for some of the acronyms, but our MTSS PD that we have been working on and has been a core part of our district, our coaching model, how our leadership teams at the schools, which were called our guiding coalitions, our PLC framework, which professional learning communities, that's what we've talked about before, but essentially it's really structured way to look at student data and then brainstorm strategies to help kids be successful. And then an example of our new teacher, our equity and inclusion trainings. Then going through to number 3, provide training to ensure the district is, you know, meeting state and federal requirements and guidelines, offering, you know, good tools and resources for staff, and trying to create an environment that is free of harassment, where people feel included and welcome, and that the workplace environment is equitable. Again, give some background information, some interpretation and an overview of what we're doing here. Then I provide some evidence of the required trainings that everybody must complete, including myself. Our policies and procedures for hazing, harassment, and bullying, Title IX, our employee harassment policy. Then again, some more supporting documentation of how we make sure we're doing this with our administrative guide, offering people the information they need in the employee handbook so they know what the expectations are. And then an example of the training for Title IX and staff harassment. Then we offered you a slideshow that shows, we try to do this often and schools do it at a local level and a school-based level, but just recognizing people for accomplishments and doing a good job and service to the school community.
Anybody have questions for John?
Kevin just put something in the chat.
Kevin, do you have a question? I don't have the meeting open. I'm trying to keep it so that there's less feedback.
Oh, okay. Maybe there's no echo.
Is there an echo?
A little echo. I think I can get through it. So thank you, John. As always, very comprehensive, informative report. And I'd say the district takes this one very seriously. I apologize if it's a repeat question from the past similar report, but I'm curious why we didn't include in the report any survey information from employees. And if we do a survey, or if we plan to do a survey to really measure if these policies are effective.
In the last one, Kevin, I took the union usually does a survey that talks about some of this, and that wasn't available. And in the last report, I did include that. So when that does become available, I will include that. And there's some good, there's some questions to get right to that, what you're asking. But that is not, was not available. At least I couldn't find it.
Okay, so would you say that you would plan to leverage direct feedback from employees in future reports?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yep. And we do get some of that qualitatively. We meet monthly with the Green Mountain NEA leadership, and they meet monthly with like 40 people, and they identify issues and questions, and they bring those to Rebecca and myself, and Andrew meets with us as well, and we brainstorm ways to solve that. And they have done that. They have a feedback loop that we get that information.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? If there are no other questions, can I get a motion to accept 2.2 Policy Governance Monitoring Report? Thanks, Lisa. Second? Heather, thank you. Any additional discussion on the report? All in favor of accepting the report, give me a thumb or an eye or a hand. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, that looks like unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Superintendent report.
Okay. Well, we got a big grant that I wanted to talk to you about that's going to help us purchase some literacy resources. It was a competitive grant.
Got it, yay.
And we got it, so we're really excited about that. And that will help us continue specifically with making sure that we have some great decodable text, and then we have a rich, robust, research-based literacy programs and good, solid, and strong classroom libraries. So we're excited about that, and it'll help us leverage some funds that are in the budget, maybe potentially in some different ways, which is always good because we didn't know we were about this grant until pretty recently. And MMU was ranked the #1 high school, which we have talked about. I shared this in district happenings. You know, you never want to get too high and you never want to get too low, but 4 out of 5 years is not something I have seen. I've been here 22 years. To have that sort of a consecutive streak. And they use a lot of objective data and when they're putting this together. So it's not just, you know, somebody in a room saying, hey, I think that's a pretty good school. They look at college readiness, the proficiency rates on the state assessments, and graduation rates, which, you know, MMU has a high graduation rate and has a lot of students from a variety of different backgrounds and places that are taking at least an AP course and getting a 3 or above. And I just have so much respect for the people in the district, because this is really a pre-K to 12 recognition. And so it happens when they are in preschool. You know, what happens there makes a difference for when they matriculate out of MMU. So we also ranked really high nationally. In the top, I think 1.5% of all the high schools in Vermont. Then I talked about, I brought this to the board several times, and we need to expand our K to 4 alternative programming for students. The current program that we have at Richmond is full. We have a waiting list, and we don't have any alternatives really outside of Mount Mansfield to offer students a therapeutic and alternative educational setting. And so we're going to be expanding. The money's in the budget. So this is money that we would have spent on contract services, out of district placements. So the money is in there, but we're just going to create our own program in MMU and model it after our multi-age classroom at RES, which has been successful. Smiley's a great location because it has the infrastructure, so kids can get, art, music, and lunch, and PE. There's space for us to be able to do it, a very good space and a lot of outdoor learning for students to be able to access, and it has the leadership from Derek Howard. Derek has a lot of experience in alternative programming. So this is going to make our system better, and in a lot of ways, keep support everybody, including our staff, and keeping students safe. So we're excited about this.
Heather has a question, and I have a question.
How many students will this be able to accept or place?
I think the max is 8. And that's, we had, so a couple of things. Mike mentioned alternative program here. We also have one at Browns River, 5-8, and one at Richmond.
So is that more than we have, like 8 more than we're currently at?
Yes, yep. So it's really gonna improve our continuum greatly. Right now we have very few options, or if any, and the students, still keep coming to school that need a different environment. So I think this is a big upgrade for us, and we really don't have a choice. We have to.
Are there other questions? Yeah.
No, you weren't waiting.
That's fine.
Okay. This is pardon my ignorance, but is the program that's at Richmond now, is that similar to what Mansfield Academy used to be?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was going to walk us through the history of it, but do you want to walk us through the history?
Yeah, so we've, We had, it's a long history, so I'll abbreviate it, but we've had some alternative programs, we call them Mansfield Academy. And for a long time, they were off-site. And you probably remember this, Susan, I think you were on the Jericho board then, when we integrated it back into the school and for a lot of different reasons, keeping kids more connected, and making sure that they have, equitable opportunities. And we also, our 5-8 was also off-site, and our 9-12 was also off-site. So we integrated those back in 10 years ago, probably. And it has really allowed us to reintegrate more students back in, which is always the goal, is for them to get back into the, quote unquote, regular ed environment and give them the skills that they need to be able to be successful.
So just for new board members, these are programs that give us more one-to-one and even more than that, opportunities to work with students. Students who would otherwise not be able to learn in a classroom, possibly even be disruptive to other students in the classroom, lots of different reasons for them to be there. That's, don't need a more higher trained, right? Like there are some students who we have to send to places that have differently trained staff, differently licensed facilities. So this is within the school licensure. And we have had to expand our numbers over the years and how many students we can have in those these alternative programs. And we have how many K4 now? Stops?
8.
We have 8 and we're doubling it.
We're doubling it, yep.
So that's the, and my question was going to be, these students don't need additional supports. This is at the same level of support that we're currently offering, or is this more intensive?
This is more intensive.
So this is gonna be level 2.
Level 2, yeah, I like that. It's, it's more therapeutic, it's structured, and it is a more differentiated educational environment. But this is one part of the continuum. There will always be the need for us to, at least get on the waiting list for Baird. We do have some students that need that or other alternative programs that that's what they need.
Heather?
So is this meeting our current need student-wise, or is there more, if we had more to need, more students could go to that program? Or is 8, that's all we can handle?
It's a great question.
Well, there's a couple other things we're doing. So we're really expanded our continuum. One, we've hired VSBAs. Forgive me I forget the acronym, but these are people that supervise the behavioral interventionists and create plans for students. So we used to partner with Howard on that, but they don't have the resources or the people to do that now, so we've created our own. And these are students that need something even more specialized. I think it makes us, it fills the need a lot more.
And the answer is we don't know until we have students next year. It would help us significantly this year, and hopefully it will meet the needs, but we don't know what's going to happen with all of the groups that, outside sources that we contract with, and how many spaces they're going to have for us. And so there's so many factors, so it will make it better.
Yes, much better.
Steve, you had your hand up?
That was my question.
Okay. Ethan?
Just curious about the process. So we've got a program at Richmond, RES, we'll have a program at Smiley. I'm assuming this is for the whole district. So is it like an additional level of transportation? How do parents, manage kind of the logistics?
We provide transportation. Sometimes it's specialized, and sometimes it's, we can make the bus, we're able to manage the bus routes. But this also gives us the opportunity to have a K2 and a 3-4. And that's, that's probably better for students because of the, just the developmental ages. So this gives us the ability to do that. and really even have a more specialized program, and differentiate it a bit more by age.
And then does the school identify potential students and make that recommendation? Is it a parent can advocate, say, I want my kid in this program?
We have a process that, in criteria to get into the program, and it's, it's, sometimes there's a fast track. Certainly a parent could say, we want to access this, but, for most of these students, it's an IEP, so the IEP team would make, the individual education program team would make that decision.
Go ahead, Allison.
So, just to clarify, the students who, I guess you can't say it specifically, but those students very likely were off campus somewhere this year, and now they're coming back to MMU's campus next year.
No, they're in classrooms right now, and they need more help.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, that's a great question. I mean, that's the whole reason why we're doing it, is because
They haven't had the opportunity.
we don't have room, and there's no room anywhere else, so
Well,
it's.
good job, John. Make this happen.
I'm trying.
Yeah, and to use the space at Smiley School is awesome too. Love to see that utilized differently, so congrats.
I'm gonna go to Susan.
Two quick questions. So Edie, when you asked, is this more intensive than what we have now? What did you, I'm not sure I understood your question. Like, are you saying, is the new program going to be different from what's currently at RES? Is that what you were asking?
Yes.
Is that how you understood it?
I'm not sure, but it will be very similar.
Yeah.
Yep, it'll be
That's what I
very.
thought. So it's not, it's actually just adding capacity, it's not changing what we offer. Okay.
That's a good clarification.
Yep, that's a good
And then-
question.
You probably don't know this off the top of your head, John, but my guess is that there might be some pretty significant cost savings by having an in-house kind of program. Do you happen to have a rough?
Thousands
Yeah.
of
Because I know
dollars.
it's very costly to send
It's
kids.
very, and the costs have been going up.
In addition to not being ideal.
Yep, that's a good, I wish I would have added that in my blurb. It is much more, it saves money.
It's
less.
better, and it's better for students to keep them in our district, right? Because then when they can transition back into the classroom, it's so much simpler. They're already familiar, right? Because, I mean, as we all know, transition is so complicated for kids, and especially for kids with higher needs, transitions are more complicated. So there's a lot of benefit to doing it.
Be in our community whenever possible instead of outside of the community.
Yep. Go ahead, Katie.
This touches upon what Heather was asking, but just to clarify, when it comes to like a wait list, as you had mentioned previously, do you anticipate that there's still a wait list?
I hope not. But
We're not seeing any signs that the wait list is getting decreased anytime soon.
Okay, and then I just wanted to add what you were saying, John, about an IEP team, and just clarifying so everyone knows that a parent is a part of the IEP team as well.
Yep.
Making those decisions.
Good point.
Yep, go ahead, Steve.
How does the aid get selected compared, is it based off of need, or is it just, they were first on the list?
It's based on need. I mean, we have a pretty in-depth process to enrollment process. And
If we had it today, it would be full.
yeah.
So we have students who we already are needing a place where they can get more intensive supports than in the classroom. And we're doing the best we can. But it would be better for them and for their classes if they have this more intensive support in a more defined area. Is that fair?
Yep, and we don't move kids in and out. Like, if somebody has a bigger need, we gotta figure it out, but we wouldn't move kids in and out based on, if they're in the program, there's a process for them to exit, so we wouldn't move them. If we had somebody with more need, we'd have to, and it's hard to determine that anyway. Yes.
I'm just curious if there's an opportunity here, maybe you haven't thought about it or don't want to think about it, but is this a potential revenue source for other schools and districts?
If we had any open seats, we would offer them to districts to purchase. We talked about that.
We've talked about this a lot.
Cool. Great.
Go ahead, Katie.
And then, to clarify, are you looking at a pre-K 2 at Richmond and 3-4 at Bolton?
It is, I think we were looking at K2, not
K2,
pre-K.
okay.
K2, and then I think we had said too, just to give some flexibility, there would be, 2-4 at Richmond, so that we weren't locked in if we, if we gives us more options.
Okay.
Great.
Great.
Remote folks, I'm not ignoring you, I'm just not seeing any hands up. Okay. And James, normally we only take questions from the board. We had you jump in earlier, and I know you're going to be joining the board. Do you have a question?
I do, because it's not in depth. You said you found a room at Smiley. Is there any other empty classrooms in our district?
Yeah, it's like complicated. There are no empty classrooms. There are classrooms that could be repurposed, but we are using every inch of every building for education.
And then we're just building more houses.
We need to build more houses. We would build them. We want them in our schools, yes. All right.
Just real quick, if this works out well, is there an opportunity to expand if we have the room to get more seats?
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of been built over time, and we've gotten, much better at it, out of necessity. So yes, yep. And then I'm not gonna read, I'll give you an update on the multi-tiered system of supports, let you know when graduation is.
And just for that, graduation is Saturday, June 15th. If it's outdoors, and we won't know that until the day before because of the weather, pretty much, please come. Everybody should come. It's really fun. It's really exciting. We always have some kind of musical presentation from students that is phenomenal. If it's indoors, it's more limited, and it's going to be here in the gym, and there will be overflow seating, and so it's much harder to accommodate everyone. Students will get a limited number of seats. So if it's indoors, you can watch remotely.
You're in outdoors, bring your sunscreen, your lawn chair, and your hat, and your water bottle.
Yes.
Or umbrella. Or an umbrella.
Yeah.
Wait, as someone that's gone in the previous years, it's so great to see all of the kids that have come through our system and graduate, and I highly suggest everybody attend. I mean, I think it should be ended.
It is great.
The real question is, does Gracie have to go to school on Monday and Tuesday?
No.
Absolutely not. No, my exams will be all done.
Maybe we have a board member or a board meeting that Monday night, and you can come to that. I'm teasing you. Teasing.
Just one day.
That's all I've got. I mean, now this is the sprint. I mean, it really, I was telling Edie, this is one of our busiest times of the year right now, everywhere. So our capacity is somewhat limited from now till June 18th.
I'm trying hard not to ask John to do any extras, now that he has my full attention. All right. Anything else on the superintendent report? We're good? Great. VSBA resolution. So Tara, correct me if I say anything wrong, at our June meeting, we need to vote on any resolutions that our board would want to send to the VSBA. So resolutions are what the VSBA focuses their time on and how they advocate for school districts at the State House. So the resolutions we voted on last year is what they're working on right now, including the task force to help all students, which is looking at how the Agency of Education and the State Board of Education could be meeting school needs better, right? So that's one of the things that they're doing right now. I have been in touch with board members at CBU to talk about a joint resolution possibly, and what it's about. It's escaped from my brain at the moment. I have it written down elsewhere. But this is our opportunity as a board to figure out if there are things that we want to work on, that we want to have the VSBA advocate for us. And normally at this meeting, if people are interested in doing that, we would send you off as an ad hoc committee to bring something back to us for the June meeting. Did I miss anything, Tara? Or Kevin, if you've done that too?
No, and I was just, last Wednesday was put on the resolution committee for the VSBA. We spoke about it very, very briefly. It sounds like one of the resolutions that's going to be put forward is to continue the task force, because it sounds like their work won't be done in the short time that they've been given.
Yep.
But yeah, they were just encouraging the rest of us to go back to our boards and start the resolution conversation so that they would have something to review in July.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I think also it's important for us to review the current resolutions, which carry over from one year to another. So you can also suggest that current resolutions be modified or rescinded, as well as new resolutions. So kind of a more comprehensive view on it there. And I think from my perspective, I'd like to see a resolution that focuses on involving school board more proactively in decisions made in Montpelier.
Are you offering to work on that? I'm sure I could get a couple of people to join you and help you with that.
Sure.
Any volunteers to work with Kevin?
I need you to say that again, because I got really distracted by the echo, so I have no idea what Kevin said.
Kevin wants the VSBA to figure out how to ensure that school districts are more involved in the decision-making process in Montpelier and probably at the State Board of Education level, because they are doing a lot of the rulemaking.
I'll volunteer for that.
Great. Katie. All right, so Katie, Tara, and Kevin want to work on that. And then any others? Any other thoughts? Okay, if anyone thinks of anything that they want to work on, reach out. I'm sure there are other people who want to do that. So, okay. Next agenda item is the superintendent evaluation process, and linked in the meeting is the evaluation and our procedures for it. So what we have done in the past is we meet in executive session and fill out the form together and add any additional comments that we want to be able to share with John. I know a lot of board members are brand new. We like to do this in February, but because the budget process took so much time and energy this year, a lot of things got pushed out. So, you know, in the future, we will continue to work to get this done in February before the board turns over. So just, if anybody has questions, what I'm asking all of you to do is to read through that and be prepared for the next meeting so we can have an executive session. Come up, you know, write down, jot down thoughts that you have, things that, you know, John is doing really well, things that you want him to do differently. As we're thinking about this, things that, as we're going to have a new superintendent soonish, not too soon,
13 months.
He's not counting. You know, think about those things in that light also, right? Like what is a need? What needs are being met right now? What needs are you know, that we need to focus on for the district. Questions, comments? Yeah.
I seem to remember, and forgive me if I misheard, there was gonna be like more of a narrative to this piece, like, you know, when I look at the actual evaluation, it's very much, you know, monitoring reports and, you know, like 3 questions. And I know that that's really the board chair's place. Is that what you're looking for, sort of that narrative conversation, or are you looking for this very specific?
I'm looking for the question answer, and I'm looking for, you know, more comments, narrative style from the board, yeah. Yeah, and if you're looking through it and saying, you know, we haven't talked about this specific policy from our policy governance, and this would be really helpful, and why aren't we, those pieces are really helpful too. You know, it would be, yeah. I'm looking back at Tara again. But there are other policy governance folks here also. We've been doing a deeper dive back into policy governance and what we're doing well and what we need to do better as a board. And I think this type of an evaluation is what we will be sticking with. Yes, no, looking at you all.
Oh, you're looking at me, sorry.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's, as we're doing more policy governance.
I don't remember specific examples.
All right, well, Heather will bring us back. Heather will come back to the next meeting with that information. How's that? So I don't have to put you on the spot unless you have the answer right now.
I don't have the answer off the top of my head. But
Okay,
okay, yeah.
thank you. Appreciate that volunteering, Heather.
You were talking about PG, like, training, and this last one was,
Yeah.
and so,
And you were the only one of us who could
there
actually.
wasn't a question, the question was what happened?
I just remember, well, my takeaway from it was like, it was like common sense that we've been doing all along. You know, it's just like when we are evaluating superintendent, don't evaluate him on stuff he's not aware of. Like, you know, it's like as long as everybody's on the whole page with the questions we're asking, then we're good to go.
Okay.
And if we want to ask different questions, we can do that for next year, but we can't be, you know.
We will not be evaluating you on anything you're not expecting to be evaluated.
Next year will be a very important evaluation for me.
All right.
We might give you a do-over.
Yeah. You have to read another
Incomplete.
year. You're not proficient. You're working on a standard.
But it'll be important with the new person, right? You need to, like, because you want them to have buy-in. And I was able to give feedback on this.
Yep.
And we really leaned into people that know way more about policy governance at the time than we did. And we've made some modifications, but it was a collaborative. And that's really critical because you want the person to own it.
Yeah, and that'll be part of the recruitment process also. So, all right, should we do some committee reports? We're ahead of schedule. Does anybody want to go back to anything else in the agenda and go back to that?
You got other business.
Yeah.
All right. Community engagement, any updates?
Yeah, we met last Monday and we reflected on the budget process and how that communication went with our communities. We felt good about a lot of what we did because we passed, right? That was exciting. And we sort of talked about things that we could do differently or would stay the same. And we talked about what the next budget cycle will look like and how to prepare our voters with things that are possibly becoming more difficult to imagine. So, you know, that communication might look like a quarterly communication and using our district happenings as a way to really highlight and outline what our budget supports in this district, and that's people power and really letting people outside of the school community understand who those people are and the impacts that they have on our students and how they help our students graduate and be, you know, great contributors to our society. And so that's, I think you'll see in the last district happenings, some information tying back to that, and then we'll start again in the fall on how to really sell our budget to our communities. Sense of that. Anything you have to say?
Great. And it'll be hopefully less driven by the committee and more full board, inclusive driving this process.
Yeah, and one other highlight that Allison mentioned, that I think we're all in agreement with, is to really talk about the state's role in these budgets and in these changes, which we all know are, I mean, even just plugging people into what the conversations of the past 2 weeks have been, will be a helpful part of history for next fall.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know you didn't take these minutes, I don't think, but this is just a minor point, but I see that Gail is mentioned in the narrative, but he's not listed as present at the meeting. Okay. So just for the accuracy of the historical record.
Thank you.
Katie?
Yeah.
I've actually had an alternate, and the Monday 8 o'clock meeting is like almost never a possibility for me.
Okay.
So I don't know.
I think
Yeah, we can talk about
that, and then we can figure out if that's not a committee that works to be an alternate on. I don't remember, there might be we might have 3 alternates on that committee right now. And so maybe we can slot you in a different spot.
Sure.
Is that a pretty firm time?
It's been great for this year.
Yep.
But we didn't talk about changing that at the last meeting. It doesn't mean we
I
can't.
don't want to be the cause of it.
Yeah, no, but it'd be great to get that feedback.
Well,
And I can send an email out to the committee about that. Thanks.
Great. Tara? DEI?
The notes that are up here are inaccurate. I'm not sure who typed them up and provided them, but they're not entirely true. But the committee did meet on May 2nd. It was a quick conversation. We went over a couple of the goals that we had met by implementing training over the year, things that we're going to start to tackle at the next academic year, which will be historical markers and land acknowledgements. And the group decided to convene until August, September time frame. At which point we'll pick up the land acknowledgement conversation and historical markers at our schools. Andrew Jones did give a quick update about what the ABAR Council is doing. Their last meeting of the year is May 23rd.
And we'll have a full update for the board, I believe, at our June meeting on that. Is that right?
The next meeting.
At our next
It's
meeting.
the 20th, yeah, Andrew.
A week from today, thank you. Great, thanks. Lisa, Finance and Facilities.
Yeah, we met and Nicole went over the audit, which we passed. They picked one area to check for federal compliance, it was food service this year, and we passed with that. There are a couple of minor things that they're gonna work on. And we also have a year-end outlook is looking very good. We have extra money in the budget. We'll see where it lands. But, yeah. We might have one more meeting before the end of the school year.
Great. HR committee met. We have not yet signed a contract with our search firm. When we do, we will make that public for the superintendent search. And then we are getting started. We will be starting into negotiations in the fall for the teacher contract and the support staff contract. So it will be a very busy year for that group. RAB?
The RAB met on April 2nd.
For people who don't know what it is.
Regional Advisory Board, so work with the tech centers. So there's Center for Technology in Essex and Burlington Tech in Birmingham. And it sort of was really a presentation on what they call the comprehensive local needs assessment. So it measures their goals and objectives. Seems like they're doing pretty well on those. There was a conversation about IRCs, which are industry recognized credentials. One other sort of testing piece that they do is called the Workies test, which is a standard, it's actually through, it's not SAT, but it's, it's a 3-test process that students take at all tech centers in the state. There's also a fair number of students do fast forward, which is like dual enrollment, so they're getting college credit for taking tech center classes. They talked about tuition. BTC's tuition is around $18,500. CTE is about $21,000. I didn't get into too many questions about the difference in those two. There are about 350 total students at CTE and 130 total students at Burlington Tech. Burlington Tech is ending its auto body program. I think there was a needs piece that I think most places are feeling like they want to train the person on site, but it was also a cost savings. So the auto repair instructor retired and the auto body instructor moved into that position. So it allowed them to keep a balanced budget, and that may be the reflection of the difference in costs, the average cost. Burlington's getting a new school built. The BTC wing will have 5 programs there, and they've also secured a new space at the airport for their aviation program. And then kind of finished with a conversation about the agency of education and the support, or maybe lack of support. And there is a desire to seek some leadership there, specifically on those big picture questions of governance, coordinated curriculum, were the things that kind of came. So.
I did just share the documents from the RAB presentation with folks, so don't look at it now, look at it later. It's a lot, but it's really good and helpful. Did you have a question, Allison? I thought you were just, okay. Okay, and VSBA-Legislative, Tara, is that you?
Sure. So right, last week we met in person and we had the interim secretary, Zoe Saunders, with us for about a half hour. And she went through her 100-day plan, what she's been doing in the last 2 weeks, and what her hope is as she's learning Vermont and her job. It wasn't much of like a back and forth conversation, but it was a lot of Floor telling Zoe what we do, and then Zoe telling us what she's been doing and what she expects to do in the next 100 days. Right, we got a report out from the task force on collaboration to benefit all students, which was born from the resolution that was passed last fall. We had a quick conversation about resolutions, and because the House was debating the yield bill, we wrapped up kind of early because people wanted to run over to the House and speak to our legislators about the yield bill. So it was a very exciting meeting.
Great. Final numbers on the yields ended up a little higher than what we put our budget, is that right?
Yes.
I think,
it is.
yeah.
A little bit.
So
Which
which
is good.
means tax rates will be a little lower than we presented to everyone. So that's great. And it's only a little.
But probably confusing.
Oh, yes.
I think
It
it's
will be
super
confusing.
simple. I think it's totally easy to understand. Oh my God. I can't even keep all the numbers straight. Okay, any minutes? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I I have a correction.
You have a what?
Correction.
A correction to the minute?
Just Dave Marlowe's name is spelled 2 different ways. So there's just a misspelling of his name, for the second time it's mentioned.
Thank you.
I'm trying to correct it right now. Thank you.
Great. Any other discussion on the minutes? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, looks like the minutes are passing unanimously. Going with the folks on screen, being all in. Go with that. All right, other business. Thank you. Does anybody have other business? Yes.
Yeah, I know it was announced a week or so ago, but I was on the search committee for the new activities director. I just wanted to compliment the staff and the students that participated in it. Very well done. We had a great pool of candidates. We brought 8 individuals to the school for a full day of interviews, and we were able to reduce that down to 3. But I thought the process was great. I think we landed. We had 3 incredible candidates. I don't think any one of those was a bad choice. And so I know we're really excited. I think I didn't have a chance to talk to Michael, but he did a great job in facilitating it. But I thought that was really well done. So it was a pleasure to be a part of that.
And remind everyone who was chosen.
Michael Abbott, and he is starting
July 1.
July 1, yeah.
And he's from?
His previous role, Rice, and he wasn't the athletic director, but he was like an associate or associate athletic activities director. But I think the staff and I know the students really connected well with him. I don't know, Abby, if you have any.
I wasn't there the day that there was like student connection, but I did hear from Mallory and the other students involved that he was a really great connector and everyone really enjoyed spending time.
Yeah, and so yeah, and I think that just what we focused on in terms of him being the face of Cougar Nation and the pool of candidates was exceptionally strong, so it was great to see that.
Thank you, Sue, for serving on the committee.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Giving me the opportunity.
Did I see a hand? Any other business? Giving everyone a chance. So our next meeting is a week from today at Camel's Hump. It starts at 6. It starts early. We start with the Golden Apple Awards. There will be food. Does that start earlier?
Yep, 5:30.
Food starts at 5:30.
He wasn't going to tell us that.
I was.
There'll be some leftovers.
I was. No, come for all of it. Come at 5:30 if you can. If you can't, come at 6. The presentation will be from 6 to roughly 6:30-ish, 6:45, maybe 7, but probably 6:45. And then we, after folks, we'll kind of reconfigure and we'll start our full board meeting. So often we don't have a full board meeting after the Golden Apple Awards, but this year we will because we didn't have any meetings last month. So,
Hey, Edie, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Do we have recipients from every one of our schools this year? Because last year we didn't, and that was kind of disappointing.
I was not on the search committee or on the committee.
I just sort of made that assumption, to be honest. There's a whole sort of slate that was presented.
Yeah, so not all the schools always make nominations, and so it just depends on what's happening in that school. I like to be surprised the day of, so I really try not to read them before. That's just a me thing.
I'm looking at it right now, and I believe we do.
I think it did. I think we did this year. Yep, pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had 8, right?
Yep.
Great. And we have 3 retiring board members.
Yep, we have a
So
little.
it will be full. It will be a full 45-minute meeting.
Do you know when the agenda for the board meeting portion is going to be? I haven't seen that.
The board meeting portion usually comes out on Thursday.
Oh, doesn't come, the agenda comes out on Thursday?
Yep. Yes. We will prepare it tomorrow and Wednesday and have it out on Thursday or Friday. So last call, other business. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Does somebody have other business? Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, it sounded like there were some technical problems today, and I'm wondering, I feel like I've heard the echo piece before, and I'm just wondering if it's this room. And because of the, like, I know sometimes like with volume and stuff like that.
We have heard it before in this room. You're 100%.
So just, I wonder if that's a consideration for meeting here.
Pick a different, is there a different?
Or we could pick another room.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, we could use that one. I have it on my, I put a little to-do list together, and one of them is to follow up with Jeff and figure out the echo.
If you need a guinea pig for testing, please reach out, I'm happy.
Okay, thank you. And we might try the Huntington room.
Why would we not?
Why not?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. I think we have a Kevin and Susan so moved and seconded, and we'll let Pat figure out who was first and who was second. All in favor, give me a thumb or a hand. Shut down, and we will see you all next week.
Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Have a great day.
Have a great night.
Tomorrow too.